of the military fight. They're the only 40%. Think about it. Out of the 100%, the other 60% are the 2 and 3 year olds, or excuse me, service people or longer, that bring the supplies, bring the ammunition and the rifles up to those people. And without them, you could not fight. So I used to get on them about it and say, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You're just as much a soldier as I am." And that's one of your veterans on there. The military gives a person an opportunity that some people can't have, and I was one of those people. I came from a little town in Idaho called McCall. Some of you probably have been up there if you're hunters or fishermen or you like to ski or whatever it is. There was only 900 people in that town when I left, and that's bringing the farmers in to count them. I went into service. The service gave me an opportunity to travel this world. I lived in Turkey for 2.5 years. I'd worked with the Turks on the Russian border. I was a nuclear weapons deployment officer out there. Also, I was an aviator, and I did dual service. It was very interesting to be 15 miles from the Russian border. You're the only American out there. And of course, you didn't wear your uniform. I lived in Greece. I learned who Alexander the Great was. Now remember, I was only an 18-year-old kid coming out of Idaho, no education outside high school. I saw his father, his grave. I saw his shield. Got an education there. I lived in Germany, in Heidelberg and Mannheim. I learned a lot about the Germans, especially the German women. We call them walking dictionaries. I lived in Japan, in Hokkaido. If you remember, in 1952, the Russians were demonstrating off the coast of northern Japan. They were making parachute jumps. So they had to take the best division in the whole world out of Korea and put them in Japan. That was the 1st Cavalry Division. We went up there and we went ahead and put up fortifications and everything and told the Russians, "Come on." Well, they backed down. Didn't come. I lived in Libya, North Africa. I was out there for not a long time, but I was out there surveying the desert. Somebody in our country realized that we might go to war with Libya someday, and so I was out there helping surveying it. If you ever want to be out 104, 105 degrees in the daytime and get stuck out there at night, it gets down to about 40 degrees real fast. And it's what's quite an education. Of course, I was in Korea. I joined Korea in 1951, February 51. And then I went back again in 1953. And someone in the North Korean Army is walking around with a marksmanship badge where he knocked me down. I was able to go to Vietnam. I was in Vietnam for a short period of time in 1964. Got another assignment, then went back in 67 and 68. And I was lucky to command an assault battalion. Which brings up a point of a commander. It's very difficult when you're back and train these kids. They become aviators, they're young, lieutenants, warrant officers, and you're commanding this battalion, and all of a sudden the sergeant major comes into your tent and says, "There's a lieutenant out there who wants to see you." So you go in and he says, "Sir, I want to join your battalion." Well, at first you say, "Hey, I taught you in flight school, didn't I? I know your wife," and everything. Sometimes you have to bring the kids in, they have a bad time, and you sit down and say, "Why can't you learn how to fly this damn helicopter?" My wife wanted to go to the movies last night, sir. She was all upset and everything. I didn't have time to study or anything. And I said, "Well, what's the problem?" He said, "Well, I just can't control her." Believe it or not, I'd bring the wife in. And I'd talk to her and I said, "You want this man to get ahead in life? He's right on the verge right now of going home to some infantry division and not learn to be an aviator." What makes it tough is when you let him come into your battalion and then he gets killed. Think about it. It's tough. You got to sit down and write that young lady a letter that you got all over back in flight school and tell her how bad you feel. If the battalion commander, I've cried over some of my people. I've had the sergeant major bring me a list of the KIAs and the WIAs for the day, and he closed the flap of my tent. Very upsetting. Something that I'm bringing this up to give you an idea how you lead to be a veteran in there. Because just be a veteran is more than the word veteran. It's the life you lead to become a veteran. It's important. I was able to get a college education in the Army. I went to night school and completed things. I studied for tests and was sent away. And they'd send me their test to the educational officer, and I'd go down this building and take it, pass it, and get college credits. I don't know where else you can do this except in the service. Marine Corps, Army, Navy. I don't know where else you can do this. And they pay for it. They paid for it for me. They sent me to the University of Southern California for several months. They paid for it. I finally ended up with a degree from a little old kid out of Idaho, with a high school education that went into service on there, working my way to become a veteran. I was very fortunate to meet many, many wonderful people around the world, different countries. I sat and had lunch with the King and Queen of Thailand. They wanted to thank me for, I started a Thai Aviation Digest. And they flew up where I was, and they came in, and I was very honored, also a little scared, didn't know how to handle myself. I asked Colonel Sharpholm, who was the chief of staff, I said, when I wah, how far do I go? A wah is when you put your hands together and you bow down in respect. And not be vulgar, he says, if you can get your head down up to in your rear end, he says, do it. That's how low you go. I sat with the Prime Minister of Turkey when he was very upset. And he thought the American soldier was the most magnificent person. What happened, we had the Honest John there, which is a nuclear weapon, a free flight nuclear weapon of its day. All these people here know about it. When you fire it, you lose control. It doesn't have a smart bomb or a smart guidance or anything like that on it. It's gone. Well, the Americans were teaching them. We marched off, and the Turkish soldiers marched on. They brought a table over in front of the Prime Minister, little cord coming out with a button on it, and they screwed around with the rocket and everything, and it looked good. And they punched the button, and how many times have you gone in your house and hit a light switch and the light gets real bright and everything goes black? That's what happened here. The rocket moved forward about 3 inches and slid back. A little embarrassing. He didn't know what to do. A sergeant ran over and he said, I'll take care of it. He took a piece of wire, just copper wire, went over and wired the thing together, and they fired the rocket off. It took the place of a fuse. It was a 25-cent fuse that burned out, and he put it in the wire. The Prime Minister thought that was wonderful, but he lost trust in his Turkish soldier until we talked to him and explained to it. But I got to meet these people. A little kid up in Idaho, I probably would end up being a bartender or working in a mill somewhere. But I got to get out, meet these people, because of the United States Army and the Marine Corps and the Air Force all had the same opportunity that I did. And it meant something to me. What's really wonderful about all these videos, I met some other wonderful people, professional soldiers in the different countries. I met classmates around the world. A couple of times, I'll give you not the whole, but a couple of times, we got in a firefight when I was a young lieutenant in Korea, and we were fighting the North Koreans, and it got kind of hot and heavy, and all of a sudden we ended up getting support out of our flank, and we didn't know who they were, and it turned out to be the division next to us, and they were on a patrol like we were and ran into the enemy. They took it up, and we did the old proverbial kick rear end and everything. Now, I've been out of school, military, commissioning school for a couple of years, and here I go there, and here who's standing there? One of my classmates. Had to go all the way over to Korea to see one of my classmates. So I mean, it was a marvelous feeling, marvelous feeling. Had another opportunity. I go into northern Italy, and I had an aircraft problem at the office. My engine was quitting on me. I had one single engine. Kicked the door off, made sure my parachute was on, and was prepared to bail out. Turned the aircraft into the Alps and the mountains. So I wouldn't go any of the little towns up there. And I finally made it, and I landed there, and I went down, and I'll be darned if I didn't get there. Here comes the guy walking across, and he says, "Can I help you?" And I look up. We're both captains now. Here's another one of my classmates, clear across the world, military, veteran. So to me, I'm proud of that. One more thing we have, we're called veterans, but we have another class of veterans too. And some of these people, such as Commander Don Brown, Chuck Peake, they put their time in the Marine Corps, but then they became policemen. And they retired out of the police force, and they're veterans. So sometimes I don't think we give enough credit to all the people, because they have put their life on the line. And I say the same thing as all we are proud of are the firefighters. How much the firefighters put on. But we don't show, we show them one day, thank you firefighters, after you've done something and put out a fire or something. We ought to praise them more often. One thing about being in the military, you put 20 years in the military, you can retire. You can go back to school and become a school teacher. Can you imagine a sergeant major, tough guy? And all the ones I knew were really tough, kept me moving. In fact, most of them taught me what I know now. Can you imagine being a school teacher and going into school and have some kid talk back to him? Not very long, but that kid coming out of school will be educated. And that's the opportunity the military gives you. And the big thing about it, the military pays for them to go to that school. On it. You can go to any professional way of life. And that's what I'm really getting down to, is that a kid today can go into service from 18 to 42 years of age. When I was in the service, you couldn't do that. You go in at 18, lie if you're 17, if your parents want to get rid of you and sign the bill and said, yeah, he's 18, got get you out of the house, you know, or anything. But he can go in, and if let's say he's 40 years of age, he can go in and he can get a bonus. I just talked to recruiting. He get a bonus of several $1,000s because, let's say, a backhoe driver, anything, a heavy truck driver, semi-truck driver. The military needs these people, and it'll take these people up that age and give them a bonus for coming in today. A young kid, 18 years of age, will go in and he can sign up and he can get a bonus just for signing his name of a few $1,000s. So what's my point? You got a grandkid that's home, you got a son that's home or a daughter that's home, and they're not quite making it, talk them into it. In closing, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out here to honor the veterans. And I speak this in their behalf. I know they all would like to get up this microphone and say thank you. So if you take my voice for them. But I want to thank all of you for coming here and honoring us. I think it's wonderful. You're true Americans. There's one last point. There's one veteran we have never talked about. And you don't hear him talk about it. That is the wife. The wife of the serviceman has a tough life, a very tough life. Can you imagine a woman coming out of Japan, 22 years of age, going to an airborne division? Her husband goes with her. They report at the post. He says, I'm going to check in and let my commander know that I'm on post now and I'll be for duty in a week after we get my family settled. He goes in there, the commander is in there, and he says, "Oh, thank God you're here. I need a company commander right away. We're going to the field tomorrow." For 3 months. Now this soldier had to go home, well, not a home, to a motel, haven't even got a home yet, and tell his wife, "You're going to have to go draw quarters. You're going to have to put your kid in a school. You're going to have to set everything up." And she's never been on a military post before in her life. After 3 months, you come home, you don't even know where your house is, you're looking for it. And let me tell you something, that house is cold. It might be 85 degrees in there, but it's pretty damn cold when you walk in the door. Believe me. And that sofa gets pretty damn tough after 2 weeks and everything. That's part of being a veteran, but I salute the military wife. She's a veteran just as much as that soldier is. And all that. Again, I thank you for letting me be here. I'm very humble about this. I thank Commander Brown for considering me. I think the Marine Corps, I think it's got a wonderful organization up here, although I'd rather be a soldier. And I think the soldiers agree with me. But again, I thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Yanka and her love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. And that concludes it, and we thank you all for coming.
Well, that concludes this segment here at Veterans Park on the 2008 Veterans Ceremony. Now, don't go away. I'll be back right after these messages.
It shows. How are you?